Hey ladies, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Thanks for sharing with us and sitting in my sister's living room again. You guys, you lived through the last one.
Yeah, we're proud.
So yeah, you're on top of it, so you're back for more. So we will have an exercise for everyone this time around, and because our chat really is about Bible stories. I think Bible stories are important. A lot of times they are to pass the time for kids in Sunday school or what have you, but there's a lesson to be learned. So we're going to spend some time talking about maybe some of our favorite stories, not studies, some of our favorite Bible stories and why, and maybe the impact that it's had on us. So would either one of you like to start?
I can start.
Okay.
So like the one that is biggest for me, and I don't know if it was necessarily like, man, I just really love the details of the story, but it just like really stuck with me, I think, because it was something that I really held on to as like identifying Christianity when I was young. Cause like mine is like the Battle of Jericho. So it's like God told them like the first 6 days to march around the walls once, and then on the seventh day, march around it 7 times, right? Am I saying that? March around seven
I
times.
honestly don't remember. I remember my mom got me a book that had a puzzle on the front of it that was the Battle of Jericho. And that's honestly the only thing I can remember. I remember it was about a wall and yeah.
It's so they march around 7 times on that seventh day, and then the walls come down. So they like won the Battle of Jericho. But like the main thing for me was like if someone said to me, in order to conquer peoples, walk around that building 7 times on the seventh day, I would have been like, no, like but
Right.
it was very clear for my kid brain to equate like, okay, that doesn't make sense, like maybe with the knowledge that I have, but clearly God has different knowledge and a different plan. And if you act on faith, you can still get to where you think your journey is going, or to the accomplishment or the task that you felt like you needed to do, as long as you have faith.
Yeah, that's pretty good because that's really you know, something to summarize out of that. It's like, look, this does not make any kind of logical sense.
No sense.
And a lot of times
Yeah.
that's what God's instructions are, you know, when you
And
hear
I'm
that.
sure everybody inside was like, man, those people look ridiculous.
Right.
Get them marching around. So it's like sometimes maybe it's
Well,
And
I guess I feel like you could also kind of look at it kind of like from, I don't know if it'd be like a literal sense, but even how they like, even just like in relationships and things like that, how they say like, they have like a wall built up, and you
ooh,
have to take time to kind of tear down their wall and stuff like that. So I feel like that's kind of it's the same type of relation
yeah.
where you may look ridiculous still trying to like fool in with this person, and they have a wall built up, but by the end of it you may be like, oh yeah, like we've accomplished something.
yeah,
Yeah. Like,
that's pretty good.
walked around those first 6 days, but we still stuck with it and did the seven on the seventh day. And look what we accomplished.
Yep.
Those
Yeah.
walls.
So there's a lot in that. It's like obedience, even when the instructions don't make sense, having the faith to believe, like you said, God knows more, He knows what's going on with it, and persistence, sticking with it, even when people are jeering at you, probably, and telling you,
Hmm.
this is crazy. Why don't you leave that person? Or why don't you, give up on this plan? It's like, no, I got these specific instructions. And so I got to keep following it. So yeah, that's a good one.
Hmm.
That's a great lesson. So Brienne, which one stands out to you?
I think the one that mainly stands out to me is like David and Goliath. Now I feel like everybody knows that story, and honestly I really don't remember like the full story. Is just that David had to go up against Goliath, like he hit him in the head with a rock, and um you know he defeated him. But
Spoiler.
what'd you say?
I said spoiler alert.
Right.
For those that don't know.
Don't know the story, sorry. um but I took it as, because obviously, like, I coach basketball and things like that. And I feel like a lot of people looked at David where, oh, he's going up against Goliath, like, he's never going to win. And it's kind of like an underdog
Mm-hmm.
story where,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like, we've said that to the young ladies before, that, okay, you may be the underdog in the situation, but, you still have to fight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you still may come out on top. So I feel like that's still something that I feel like we kind of still bring back in time, my life now, that I remember, like, as a child.
Yeah, for sure. It's the classic story that has gone, even if people aren't biblical scholars, right? People are
Hmm.
familiar with the whole David and Goliath. That's all you have to say. And then people think underdog, the little
Hmm.
guy, he took them out. And
Right.
um, and it's great because those stories have meaning, for people. They have lessons. I mean, there are a lot of layers to stories, and that's one of the things we want people to do is go back and revisit maybe these two stories like you guys have talked about or others, and look at all the characters in there, like kind of
Hmm.
analyze it. It's like, okay, let me break this down, let me put myself in that situation. What was going on here?
Hmm.
And reacquaint yourself with those lessons and how we can apply them
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
ourselves
Well,
today.
even the other one, like, how I had told you before, that I was thinking about, even with Jonah. And again, I couldn't really remember that one because I think, yeah, I was really young when I learned that story. And when I like revisited that one, I was like, oh, I guess when I was younger, I didn't really realize that it was Jonah, that, God sent him to go to Nineveh to, I think they said, because I don't know if they had sinned, or like, to kind of to preach to them, and he didn't want to, because he wanted them to, be in trouble. So
Right.
yeah, and so, God had other plans. So, he got eaten by the big fish, or the big whale.
Mhm.
And then, once he, confessed his sins, and, asked for forgiveness and stuff like that, then God had the fish or the whale, like, spit him back up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think, that again, like how you said, where I was like, oh, I guess I didn't really realize all that was going on when
Mhm.
I was a kid, but now, reading and hearing about it again, that I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And, it was for obedience, and, to follow, his will.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that because also one of the things I remember from a lesson about that is, when he's in, the fish for that many days, it's kind of like someone had said, now just hold on to him, don't harm him. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
still protect him while he's in this whole situation. And then it's like, you're going to have to go off and do what I told you to do anyway. I mean, again,
Right.
so many layers of lessons. And the neat thing is that each one of us can go back and read those. And depending on where we are in our life right now, or what we're going through, like the three of us could get something different out of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's still a great lesson. So yeah, hey, thanks for sharing, you guys. That's what we want to challenge people to do is go back and look at some of these lessons. What were some of their favorite Bible stories? Maybe even pick up a new one and go through it again and kind of analyze and figure out how you can apply that in your life. When are you the David in the situation? When are you the Joshua in the, situation? What walls have to come down? What level of obedience and faith do we have to operate in? And that's our challenge in my sister's living room today, this week.
Well, what is your favorite story?
Yeah.
So, one of my favorite stories is the widow, and, she gave out of her lack. Okay, so everybody was throwing money in, but it wasn't that much, but she
Hmm.
gave the miter or the mite or whatever. And it took me the longest time to go, what are they talking about? She gave out of her lack. You know what I mean? But, hers was the best gift. And when I finally connected with she gave out of her nothingness. She gave
Mhm.
everything. When she had nothing, she gave everything. And I'm like, wow, to be in a posture of looking and seeing that the cupboard is bare or my bank account is zero, and still give everything you have to give,
Mhm.
how God views that. And once I understood that, for some reason that really stayed with me. And it's and times when I feel like I got nothing else to give, I can't do anything. It's like, no, this is the time when you have to give out of your nothingness.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's one of my favorites. So.
I like that. I don't know if I've heard that story or not, but I know that's what I always try to do. Like, even if it's a little bit, whatever, that I feel like it's still something
So that's
than,
a
just kind of sitting.
that's funny that you bring that up, because that's one of the things that I think everybody says or thinks about you. I mean, maybe Jackie can attest to this, and that
Yeah.
is, if anybody talks about you behind your back in the family, what is it? What do people say? That Brienne is such a giver.
Well, thank you.
So I can see how you can connect to that, because you give to others before you give to yourself. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
And you
Mhm.
can
So
tell it's on the forefront of your mind. Not particularly like I'm always looking for a gift for all of you. It's like whenever you hear anything that like, oh, Brienne got this person this, or like spent time with this person for this, or did that. It's like that was so thoughtful. Like,
she's such a giver.
where
Yeah, she's such a giver. So yeah, so I will send you a shout out about that Bible story, because yeah, you can equate to that.
yeah.
So there you go. We all are in the Bible stories. We all have to go out and then just find ourselves and put ourselves in those stories. So I appreciate you guys spending time. So hey, everyone in my sister's living room, do your Bible stories. Let us know. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.